Haruhiro lets out a deep breath, as if he had forgotten to breathe, and wonders why things have felt so quiet. The silence, however, is not peaceful. It's filled with noises that seem to echo inside his head, a relentless proximity that feels like it's surrounding him. Shihoru, sitting by the jail, watches Haruhiro question his fear and unease. Despite the need to call her, Haruhiro hesitates, unsure why voicing her name seems insurmountable. Shihoru rests with her back against the bars, her eyes wide and teeth clenched. Haruhiro feels like he must say something, yet words escape him. Everything was okay, he tells himself, convincing only in repetition. Haruhiro realizes he's forgotten his stiletto, urging him to act. The corpse of a gorilla near the stiletto catches his eye and reminds him of his deeds, sparking a surge of anger and regret. He recalls the recent encounters, battles against numerous gorillas, his mind echoing with the word killed repeatedly. Despite the chaos within, he questions, contemplates, and pushes forward, driven by sheer desperation and a need to protect his friends. In a sudden change of pace, Haruhiro dashes awkwardly and unsteadily towards their battle, bursting through the doorway to join his companions. Kuzaku, already engaged in combat, cuts through another enemy, managing a powerful strike. Yume stands beside them, coordinating their defense and movement. Haruhiro shouts to her, offering to take the left side while she covers the right. The gorillas charge relentlessly. Haruhiro notes their intimidating strength, shell-like skin resistant to his weapons. Yet Haruhiro has resolved to use his strengths, evading rather than confronting directly. He moves swiftly among them, striving to support his comrades and praying for Shihoru's magic to fortify their efforts. Meanwhile, Ronta is alone, creeping through the terrain like a hunter following his prey. As he advances, he comes across a gigantic frog-like creature. The frog, though peculiar and potentially poisonous, looks edible to Ronta's hungry eyes. He approaches it with determination, intent on catching and potentially cooking it. A chase ensues as Ronta repeatedly attempts to catch the elusive creature, hands closing on the spot where it was just moments before. As he resolves to leap out, again and again, Ronta's persistent shouts echo his tenacity, despite his fatigue. Eventually, he succeeds in capturing the creature, albeit with doubt about its nature. Holding his bizarre prize, the frog, Ronta considers its worth and potential danger. The stench is unmistakable, and yet eating it becomes proof of survival, a tangible reminder that he is alive. As he munches on it with minimal pleasure yet maximal need, he savors the sense of living through the struggle. The environment shifts as Ronta's thoughts wander. Suddenly, a voice calls out to him, Takasagi, the old man waiting near a twisted tree, hidden and observant. Takasagi admits he could kill Ronta at any moment, adding tension to their interaction as Ronta remembers the consequences of their actions in Thousand Valley. Takasagi approaches, using a piece of wood, remarking on Ronta's choice of weaponry. Ronta feels the weight of judgment, questioning his own decisions all the while. Despite the distance, something about the old man's presence convinces Ronta to hold steady, recalling the enormity of the stakes at play and the fragile balance of their current situation. Takasagi stands over Ronta, mocking him with a smirk. The tension between them is palpable. Takasagi had humiliated himself by asking Ronta to train, and Ronta had agreed, albeit reluctantly. Yet today, Ronta couldn't take it anymore. He knew Takasagi would call him out for being hungover, but Ronta was determined to push through the haze. They engage in a sparring match. Takasagi, wiry and precise, strikes a nerve when he critiques Ronta, pushing him with words more potent than the physical blows. "Come at me like you mean it," Takasagi goads, striking Ronta hard. Ronta tries to deflect, but his focus wavers as he fumbles, the branch in Takasagi's hand swinging with brutal efficiency. Ronta feels frustration boiling within. "Damn it," he groans, collapsing after another hit. Takasagi circles him, scolding him for hesitating. There is a dance to their interaction, seasoned with a mix of mentorship and rivalry. Ronta tries to regain his stance, realizing his shortcomings. He admires Takasagi's strength, but the old man simply observes, "You can get stronger, Ronta, but you need to focus." Takasagi lectures Ronta about growth, not just in physical strength, but in understanding oneself. With seasoned wisdom, he advises trimming the fat and refining one's technique. He mentions how repetition is key, something he learned from watching animals and even humans. Ronta feels a flicker of understanding, pondering Takasagi's insights. As Ronta listens, his mind races. He contemplates life goals, a topic that weighs heavily upon him. The mention of a certain Jumbo ignites a flame in Ronta. His goal? To defeat Jumbo. Ronta is drawn into a reflection on what his life's purpose might be, unsure but driven by a need to grow. Faces flash through Ronta's mind: comrades, friends, the emotional ties that bind him. The thought lingers: who are his life goals linked with? Takasagi's words reverberate in his mind, casting shadows of doubt but also laying a foundation of hope. There is a renewal in Ronta, a spark to pursue something greater. Takasagi, acknowledging Ronta's eagerness, agrees to continue training him. It's a mutual understanding, an unspoken bond forged through the trials of combat and the chaos of unspoken words. But as always with Takasagi, there is laughter, light-hearted, dismissive of the gravity of their sparring, yet crucial to their dynamic. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to Kuzaku, who finds himself repeating words of encouragement as he battles a gorilla. Despite exhaustion and a mind weary from endless fighting, Kuzaku pushes on, driven by sheer determination. The reality of his situation is harsh, fatigue pulling at every muscle, yet he wields his katana, the essence of a warrior's spirit in every swing. In the midst of this, Haruhiro, Yume, and their companions prepare for an impending battle against gorillas, colossal creatures whose presence looms menacingly. Haruhiro struggles with the leadership mantle, questions about what lies ahead weighing heavily on his mind. When confronted with an unwavering need to save Kuzaku, Haruhiro is torn but resolved. Their bond as a group is tested in the thick of chaos, each member bringing their strengths to the fore. The gorillas are fearsome adversaries, their sheer size and strength daunting, but the group stands resolute. As they brace for another wave of attacks, Haruhiro fights with a razor-sharp focus, dedicated to protecting his friends. Amidst the smoke and confusion of battle, they press on, driven by camaraderie and a shared purpose. Haruhiro and Yume support Kuzaku, who pushes his limits, his spirit undeterred by fatigue. In a pivotal clash, Haruhiro encounters a redback, a more fearsome gorilla with distinct markings. The encounter is intense, it's a battle of wills as much as it is of strength. Setora joins with her spectral cat, Mew, providing a crucial advantage. The group bands together, unleashing their combined force against the gorillas, strategically outmaneuvering their adversaries. In the throes of battle, moments of doubt creep in, yet Haruhiro's spirit remains unbroken. Seeing his friends fight alongside him gives him strength. As the clash with the redback reaches its climax, Haruhiro seizes an opportunity, delivering a decisive blow. The gorilla collapses, its heavy body giving way. The victory is hard-won, the group standing breathless but unyielding, the grit of battle clinging to them like a second skin. They share a silence laden with exhaustion yet underscored with relief and the quiet understanding that they stood together against all odds. The day may be over, but the journey continues, each step drawing them closer to unraveling the mysteries of their world and their place within it. As they gather their strength for what lies ahead, the whisper of the wind carries with it promises of adventure and the certainty of more battles to come. Yet for now, they rest, knowing that with each challenge, they grow stronger, each triumph adding to the tapestry of their shared story. Haruhiro stands amidst chaos as Setora cries out his name, the battle against the gorillas and redbacks raging on. Haruhiro narrowly avoids an attack from a redback, with Shihoru barely missing her chance to intervene in time. Haruhiro's instincts kick in, and he thrusts his stiletto into the redback's eye. Blood flows out, but the danger isn't over. He dodges another attack and witnesses Kuzaku being thrown aside like a ragdoll, yet with a resilient smile on his face. In the thick of the fight, Haruhiro is nearly overwhelmed by a gorilla, but his desperation lends him speed. "Woho!" he exclaims as he narrowly avoids its vicious swing, feeling the wind brush past his nose. Meanwhile, Kuzaku shouts in pain, engaging another gorilla, stubbornly refusing to surrender. The warriors continue their struggle. Kuzaku, clutching his arm injured by a previous attack, fights bravely alongside Haruhiro. Haruhiro attempts to save Yume, pulled away by another force she couldn't see, leading him into a dilemma. Should he focus on the gorilla before him, or try to save Yume? His heart heavy with the decision, he clings to the hope of Yume surviving. Jesse arrives, throwing fire arrows at the attacking gorillas. The arrows cause a panic, adding to the already tense and volatile struggle. The village being attacked is central to the hearts and minds of the defenders, and they are desperate to protect it from being overrun. Amidst the chaos, Haruhiro realizes with a sinking heart that he and his comrades were used as bait. It was a calculated move by Jesse, who saw no other option. Haruhiro questions if it was necessary. He is haunted by memories of Mary, whose loss still lingers painfully in his heart. Even though you were my precious comrade, he thinks despondently about Mary, believing her to be gone forever. Haruhiro cannot escape the tormenting belief that he abandoned Mary in her final moments. Her memory drives him forward now. Regret transforms into a resolve to stop the gorillas and redbacks at any cost. Thus, he finds himself racing for a confrontation with the smiling redback. It has sensed him, and retreats slightly, perhaps to regroup. But Haruhiro knows this confrontation is inevitable, it's now or never. As Haruhiro closes in, he experiences a vivid memory of Mary encouraging him. The thought fortifies him with strength. Rain begins to fall, drenching the battlefield and heralding the waning life of the redback. Haruhiro mounts its back, ready to deliver a final blow, but senses something is amiss. It seems lifeless. The rain extinguishes the flames around them, adding an eerie calm. Jesse arrives, examining the redback, commenting on the extent of its injuries. The magic fire had burned it thoroughly, leaving it incapable of sustained life. Haruhiro, numbed by exhaustion and relief, is left to process the night's events, attempting to wrestle with the consequences of their struggles and sacrifices. The chapter closes with Haruhiro pondering the reality of his actions and the paths that led them to this precarious balance between survival and loss, both haunted and inspired by the memory of friends who fought beside him. In the muddy chaos of a relentless storm, Haruhiro finds himself unceremoniously tossed from his steed. The rain lashes at him as he hits the ground, trying to make sense of the uproar around him. A flurry of voices call out, Yume, Shihoru, and Setora, each urging Haruhiro to come to his senses. He's surrounded by his comrades, but the world feels distant, disconnected. Kuzaku's words cut through the haze as he points out the absence of their priest. Haruhiro's mind races, trying to grapple with what this means. Jesse, keenly observing Haruhiro, addresses the growing tension. What happened to your priest? Jesse asks, seeking answers the group struggles to articulate. The atmosphere grows colder with each passing second. Jesse scrutinizes Haruhiro, questioning why they lack someone to heal their wounds. Haruhiro's thoughts are muddled, stuck between reality and denial. Jesse presses further, weaving through the illogic and emotion engulfing Haruhiro's mind. She died, right? Jesse insists, the words lingering in the air like a storm cloud. Despite the physical pain, Haruhiro battles an internal tempest. Setora shouts, calling for Yume to move aside as she tries to help him up. The group, feeling the weight of their loss, starts to contemplate their next steps. Setora attempts to guide Haruhiro, while Yume dutifully assists, although she is almost devoid of strength. Meanwhile, Shihoru stands bewildered, not entirely present. Amidst the struggle, Kuzaku clumsily approaches, exhausted and barely able to move. They are joined by Yoni, another ranger, who has hurriedly arrived on the scene. Yoni seems to know Jesse, indicated by the slight relaxation in Jesse's demeanor. Yoni's presence brings a momentary stillness, but not peace. Jesse, dealing with the immediate crisis, relays information about a pending threat, the curse of Enad George, the no-life king. Haruhiro, feeling the weight of those words, questions who Enad George is. Jesse, unfazed and firm, remarks that they need to move quickly to prevent Mary from being consumed by the curse that plagues them. Haruhiro's anxiety turns inward as he listens. his hope wavers between the harsh reality of Mary's death and the nerve-pulling desire to believe she could still be saved. Jesse insists on the possibility that Mary's state could be reversible if they act without delay. As the scene shifts, Haruhiro reflects on his own inadequacies. He struggles with understanding how things came to this point, how Mary could be gone, but Jesse's authoritative presence and calm reasoning force him to face their grim reality. With a sense of urgency, Jesse leads the group. His confidence offers a faint glimmer of hope, demanding that they stay focused, even as Haruhiro battles his own demons. Haruhiro feels the crushing weight of the truths he must now confront, a journey that requires every ounce of his courage. The possibility looms that despite his fears, there may still be something left to fight for. Ronta stands amidst his inner turmoil, wrestling with Takasagi's unexpected presence. The air is tense, underscored by Ronta's self-consciousness. He reminisces about his training, his bravado shadowed by insecurity. Takasagi's words echo in his mind, slicing through his confidence. "I'm no monk," Ronta insists internally, bewildered at the comparison, yet here he is, confronted by his own physical urgencies. The urgency mounts. He's driven by a basic need that overtakes his mental self-debate. His physical discomfort is palpable, leading to a momentary lapse in focus as he addresses a more pressing situation. In this awkward solitude, he finds brief relief, escaping the clutches of his worries. Amidst this unscripted break, Takasagi's relentless presence breaks through. Their encounter is inevitable. Ronta sees him approaching, the very air crackling with the tension of impending confrontation. There's a mixture of respect, dread, and admiration in Ronta's eyes as he contemplates his opponent's silent power. Takasagi, his expression as unreadable as ever, remains calm. His demeanor is unchanging, yet it fills Ronta with both awe and intimidation. "Basically, I'm gonna do it," he murmurs under his breath, steeling himself against the odds. As Takasagi draws near, Ronta's spirit ignites with defiance. They exchange words laden with underlying intent. Ronta, still grappling with his insecurities, feels dwarfed by Takasagi's presence. The seasoned warrior moves with the confidence of a master terrifically accustomed to his sword's weight, his movements both deliberate and effortless. Their dialogue is a sparring match in itself. Takasagi's every word seems to carry layers, each sentence a challenge to Ronta's perceptive abilities. His tone is almost dismissive, yet there's a spark, a hint that Ronta must decipher on his own. Ronta feels the weight of it, urging him to see beyond mere words. Ronta's anxiety surfaces. He questions his worth, recalling the harsh lessons learned in their world. The shadow of his self-doubt looms large, reminding him of the stakes. Every encounter with Takasagi feels like a test not only of skill but of character. Takasagi holds his katana with the ease of familiarity. He is prepared, every movement precise. The calm before the imminent storm of their duel is dense with unspoken challenges. Ronta knows he must remain steadfast, his mind racing to grasp Takasagi's motives. Exhausting their verbal sparring, the two prepare for a more physical confrontation. Ronta utilizes his skills to maintain distance, strategically employing exhaust to remain elusive. His movements are calculated, each step a move in a larger, unseen strategy. Even as he counters Takasagi's measures, the encounter feels more a dance than a battle, a dance intricately choreographed by experience and insight. In the midst of their skirmish, Ronta must reckon with his limitations. Thoughts of inadequacy swirl in his mind, confronted with Takasagi's superior prowess. But deep within, a voice challenges him, urges him to push beyond mere survival instincts. This crisis is pivotal, demanding all his focus, yet a part of him feels detached, almost watching from above. As the conflict simmers, punctuated by thrusts and feints, Ronta muses over his situation, grappling with the reality of his crew's perceived strengths and weaknesses. In that introspection, he battles not only an external foe but also an internal barrage of self-reflection and existential questioning. Suddenly, Takasagi demonstrates a power move, his prowess evident. Ronta responds instinctively, channeling his own advancements in skill. They clash with a cacophony of metal and motion, each testing the limits of the other's endurance. The dynamic is enthralling, each moment marked by an almost palpable tension. Through it all, Ronta acknowledges a hard truth: his power has been nurtured by the camaraderie and challenges shared with his group. I have potential, he realizes, vowing to harness it fully. He's spurred on by a newfound determination, a resolve he hadn't fully realized until faced with Takasagi's relentless onslaught. In a climactic moment, Ronta engages his full suite of abilities, determined to hold his own. The battle crescendos, each hit resonating heavily in the still air. The rush of adrenaline drives them both to the edge of their abilities, desperately vying for that elusive upper hand. As the confrontation escalates toward its peak, a decisive maneuver from Takasagi intervenes. However, Ronta's own moves parallel the action, balancing the encounter once more. His learning, adapting in real time, each mistake a lesson, each success a testament to his growth. Their struggle is not only a test of strength but a test of will. Will Ronta rise to the occasion, surpassing his own self-imposed limitations? With each clash, each dodged strike, he moves a step closer to not only proving his worth to Takasagi but to himself. There is no room for retreat, only the drive forward. In a dramatic culmination, Ronta orients himself for the final moments. He breathes in the reality of his situation, exhaling the doubts that plagued his journey thus far. The fight transforms from a simple test of power to a narrative of defiance and determination, a tale woven by adversity and awakened potential. Takasagi and Ronta face off in a tense showdown. Ronta is caught between admiration and resentment, his mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. Takasagi, with his aura of composed danger, calls out to Ronta with taunts and challenges, almost relishing their encounter. Ronta, surprised by Takasagi's approach, feels an intense, simmering defiance. The voices of doubt in his mind are drowned out by the rush of adrenaline and the clarity of battle. I could barely see it. That was devilishly fast, you know. Ronta acknowledges Takasagi's skill, realizing there's a grim respect between them despite their differences. During this face-off, Takasagi admits he could have easily killed Ronta but didn't. Instead, he gives Ronta a chance to learn and grow, a surprising move that leaves Ronta both humbled and unsettled. You just died once, Takasagi remarks, hinting that there may yet be hope for Ronta if he chooses a different path. Conflicted, Ronta contemplates his actions and Takasagi's forgiveness. It's a moment of internal struggle as he grapples with betrayal and the desire to belong. You mean after all this, not to kill me for stabbing you in the back, but to bring me back? Ronta asks incredulously, unable to fully grasp the mercy shown to him. Takasagi's words pierce through Ronta's bravado, as he exposes the vulnerability beneath. Ronta reluctantly acknowledges his previous actions with shame, admitting that his defiance stemmed from a place of loneliness and a desperate need for acceptance. As Takasagi offers him a chance to redeem himself, Ronta is forced to confront his regrets and motivations. Their conversation takes on a philosophical tone as Takasagi reflects on the nature of life and choice. He urges Ronta to look at himself clearly, seeing the man he has become. For Ronta, this is a moment of reckoning. He must decide what path to take, caught between the past and an uncertain future. The tension shifts as Zodi, an anthropomorphic embodiment of demonic power, makes an unexpected appearance, baffling Ronta further. Ronta's interaction with Zodi is laced with a mix of fascination and apprehension. Zodi praises Ronta's courage, though it comes off as almost mockingly superficial. The creature's unsettling presence adds another layer to the volatile mix of emotions and dangers surrounding Ronta. Amidst this chaos, an unyielding resolve solidifies within Ronta. He defiantly proclaims himself a knight, despite knowing the sincerity of his claim is yet to be proven. His determination to claim a new identity echoes through the tension-filled air. As they prepare for an unavoidable clash, Ronta faces Takasagi with renewed determination, blocking attacks and strategizing within the chaos. Their weapons clash, a symphony of steel and willpower. Despite his brashness, Ronta acknowledges the gap in skill between them, realizing he's outmatched but refusing to back down. Takasagi's teachings on war and experience surface, forcing Ronta to confront the brutality of battle. Ronta's internal monologue highlights his struggle between reckless bravado and a deeper yearning for recognition and purpose. The clash becomes more than a physical struggle, it's a fight for Ronta's very soul and future. In a decisive move, as their blades continue to meet, Takasagi offers an unexpected compliment. He hints at Ronta's potential, suggesting that with guidance, Ronta could achieve great things. "You're more skilled than I'd have expected, Ronta. If I trained you for a number of years, I'm sure you'd be pretty useful." Ronta is taken aback by these words, the gravity of Takasagi's unexpected kindness resonating deeply. It's a moment that offers redemption and hope, a chance to redefine himself beyond the shadow of his past misdeeds. The fight continues, each movement and decision a dialogue between respect and rivalry. Ronta's fiery determination burns ever brighter, fueled by the complex web of relationships, regrets, and longings that bind him to those around him. The battle isn't just physical, it's emblematic of a profound transformation that Ronta must undergo to find his true self. Ronta stands perplexed, trying to comprehend Takasagi's priorities. Takasagi reflects on their shared past, stating, "For better and for worse, in our group, we're all a bit irresponsible. Between us, that sort of teacher and student relationship is fundamentally impossible." Despite Takasagi's acknowledgement of Ronta's growth, there's still a tone of disappointment. "You're mediocre, but not the bumbling fool I was. I'm thinking I'd barely not want to kill you. You'd be a good way to kill time. I'm disappointed." Ronta, determined not to back down, resolutely declares he will not ignore Takasagi. As tension mounts between them, Ronta is shaken by an icy fear. Takasagi's demeanor is unnerving, more so when Ronta's sword is caught by him effortlessly. Takasagi commands the upper hand and exerts overwhelming force. Beside them, Zoran, a powerful keeper orc, attempts to intervene, but finds himself unable to withstand Takasagi's sheer might. Takasagi, displaying strategic prowess, uses his skill to shield Ronta, a maneuver that shifts the tide of battle. Even Runji, who had been standing vigilantly, finds himself unable to match the speed and force of the dual-wielder, Zoran Zesh. Ronta calls out Maguzo, not understanding why the comrade hasn't intervened. The answer lies in Maguzo's admittance that they need to take advantage of this opportunity to win. Ronta realizes the extent of Takasagi's capabilities, acknowledging that you can't bring down that ogre, and they owe this fleeting edge to him, inching hope into a nearly impossible situation. Zodi, lurking with deadly intent and a demonic aura, approaches Takasagi, preparing to slash with a lethal naginata. Takasagi, though aware of the danger, knows he must act. Reacting swiftly, he evades Zodi's attack, feeling the urgency of the situation as the katana buried itself into Zodi's chest. In a frantic moment, Ronta's resolve shatters, and he runs. It's an instinctive decision, driven by an overwhelming sense of survival and fear. Chased by the chaos erupting behind him, Ronta escapes without a clear destination, only consumed by a need to survive. Amid the aftermath, Yume stands near her unconscious friend, feeling a profound sense of confusion and disbelief. It's difficult to reconcile the events, one minute they were alive, the next gone. Jesse, a shaman, offers a glimpse of hope, suggesting there is still time to possibly save her. Haruhiro reflects on Jesse's words, hearing a glimmer of a solution despite Jesse's assertion that resurrecting someone after death typically means doom. Confronted with the dilemma, Haruhiro asks to see Mary, remembered not as a recent victim but as his cherished companion. Jesse, showing an enigmatic presence, asks Haruhiro if he's willing to risk potentially resurrecting Mary with a scorched spirit rather than let her rest in peace. Throughout this conversation, it's noted that risking such a ritual isn't without peril. Jesse's uncanny knowledge unsettles the group. A revival, if possible, might cost more dearly than anyone foresees. The gravity of the situation weighs heavily on the comrades. Haruhiro grapples with the uncertainty, feeling dizzy under the pressure. Jesse continues his explanation, laying out that the so-called Vulus, scavengers of the dead, are circling just out of sight, a lurking omen of failure. Despite the stakes, Haruhiro is left with a choice: proceed with Jesse's extraordinary offer or lose Mary. He grasps for any solution, knowing the dangers, yet struggling with the idea that they could burn her body, an irreversible finality. Jesse's terms are steely and clear. There's no room for error, this mysterious resurrection is neither promise nor without consequences. Yet for Haruhiro, facing oblivion without trying is perhaps the greatest risk of all. In the open sky above them, the pressing weight of their decision becomes almost tangible as Yume and Shihoru, alongside Haruhiro, face Jess's ultimatum. The atmosphere is charged with a flare of hope balanced precariously against the potential for a more profound loss. Each moment drags, pressing on their hearts like a vice as they contemplate which path to walk together. Shihoru does as Haruhiro asks, finding a large piece of cloth in her belongings. Her hands shake as she wraps it around Jess's waist, blood staining the fabric. Haruhiro watches, overwhelmed by helplessness. Shihoru apologizes in a small voice. Haruhiro reassures her silently, knowing words are futile. He recognizes that saving Jessie was never possible, even hoping for a miracle seemed out of reach. Meanwhile, Haruhiro collapses. Meri, who has been tirelessly supporting him, almost falls too but is steadied by Haruhiro. Despite the odds, he holds her hand firmly, unwilling to let go, knowing what Meri thinks, and hoping she doesn't regret any decision he's made. Haruhiro had little choice. If Meri could come back, so would he. Outside, the birds call relentlessly. Kuzaku struggles against them in the garden. The fairy-like birds, resembling crows, become a growing nuisance. They swarm, pushing Kuzaku and the others back from defending against them. They are too numerous. Inside, Haruhiro struggles to maintain focus. His body is rejecting movement, urging him to sit or lie down. He recalls Jess's previous injuries, self-healed fatal ones, recognizing something unnatural was at play. As the cause from outside intensify, Haruhiro's suspicion grows. As Haruhiro examines Jessie, he realizes the extent of his injuries. The shrunk, emaciated appearance of Jessie baffles Haruhiro until understanding dawns. Jessie, once vibrant, is reduced to something entirely different. Haruhiro can't ignore that Jess's shrunken body becomes more significant by the minute. It's as if body fluids are being drained by an unseen force. Yet, it makes no sense to Haruhiro. The cawing outside grows louder. Ronta, meanwhile, is elsewhere, waiting in the forest, contemplating solitude. He confronts his inner demon, Zodiac Kuan, questioning his identity, actions, and if regret lingers. However, Ronta realizes that despite circumstances leading here, he remains resolute, never giving in to regret. Ronta muses about his companions, understanding that despite personality clashes, all contributed to their survival. Ronta's contemplations are interrupted by his reactions to Zodiac Kuan's antics and their shared banter. A sense of humor is integral to Ronta, but amidst this humor, he feels genuine fear, a deep fear of being pursued, fear of isolation. He senses danger looming, attempts to rationalize his circumstances, and recalls an ally's vow never to leave him. This optimism doesn't fully chase away his fear, yet Ronta persists. As morning dawns, Ronta's thoughts drift. He ponders whether forces of good might still exist, even in a seemingly endless night. Exhaustion beats down, yet his resolve remains unshaken. Despite past decisions mirroring reckless abandon, Ronta chooses action over regret. As Zodiac Kuan quips, they continue forward, facing whatever comes next. Ronta's narrative fills with sudden dread as something larger looms from the shadows, asserting pressure and immobilizing him. The form, resembling a deadly predator, presses hard against him. Ronta finds himself trapped, unable to move. A terrifying realization confronts him as he lies pinned, the forest's darkness surrounding him. Ronta is engulfed in chaos as his helmet gets knocked off by a fierce leopard. The situation becomes dire as the leopard gnaws on his arm, its fangs biting into his flesh. Panic grips Ronta, yet he knows he must escape. The pain is excruciating, but he manages to free himself, pushing away thoughts of the imminent danger. As he retreats, Ronta's mind races. He's aware of the terrifying presence of Skull Hell, which aggravates the leopard, making his escape seem nearly impossible. Despite the leopard tracking his every movement, Ronta relies on his quick reflexes and unpredictable maneuvers to evade capture. The leopard seems to possess a relentless stamina, making every strategic attempt seem futile. Observing the beast isn't enough, a tangible solution is necessary. Ronta holds on to hope, realizing that he can survive if he continues to think on his feet. Overhead, a bystander catapults a katana toward him, providing Ronta with a glimmer of opportunity. Desperation fuels Ronta as he dashes toward an incline, opting to use the katana to his advantage. He manages to plant a strike on the leopard, momentarily knocking it back. Exhaustion claws at him, but determination is his lifeline. Ronta seizes the katana sheath, trying to hold himself together emotionally, his mentor's voice echoing in his mind, "Hold it in with everything I've got, and breathe." In the next segment, we shift to a deeply introspective journey. The protagonist runs down a dark tunnel toward an elusive light. The running, almost cathartic, is a metaphorical escape. The world spins around memories of Dad, of running through grass under the sun. The narrative oscillates between the protagonist's memories and present moments, spectral voices urging a return as memories of Dad's laughter and conversation swirl. Picnic scenes mix with tender familial moments, the protagonist recalling with Dad, plans for the future, and dreams shared. Emotional depth extends as the protagonist contemplates relationships, specifically the budding, awkward romance with Hakamada-kun. The tension between personal comfort and societal expectations emerges vividly as the protagonist decides to end things, ensuring clarity and honesty outweigh lingering doubts. Yaki, ever the perceptive friend, questions the breakup. Their conversation, light yet probing, dips into analysis and the raw vulnerability of revealing one's heart. Emotional complexities are laid bare, intertwined with childhood memories and familial bonds, as the protagonist reconciles internal turmoil with external realities. The narrative crescendos as the protagonist seeks to find peace among recurrent memories and emotional revelations. Finally, the protagonist is propelled forward, urging a run toward something new, as familiar voices echo from the past, hinting at encounters with Michiki and the gang ahead. This ethereal run becomes both an escape and a flight to embrace what comes next. Amidst a desolate field stretching endlessly, Haruhiro finds himself lost and alone. He calls out for familiar names, Michiki, Matsumi, Ogu, but the silence swallows his cries. "I'm alone," he whispers, a haunting realization settling within him. Everything around him, even his own voice, feels muted and hollow. The landscape seems eternal, with nothing but grass and sky in sight. Haruhiro's struggle with his solitude is palpable as he begins counting, seeking some semblance of control or clarity. Yet, even as he counts, the disconnection is evident. It's as if reality slips away further with every number. In the grips of overwhelming loneliness, a voice calls out to him, Eiri's voice. Her presence brings back memories and emotions intertwined with their shared history. The voice assures him, "You don't have to do anything. Because you've already done enough for me." These words resonate with comfort and sorrow, reminding Haruhiro of the depth of their bond. Haruhiro reflects on his gratitude for those around him, for Mary, and for the support they shared. "I was happy because I wasn't alone. You were there for me," he muses, trying to grasp fleeting memories and sentiments. As this introspection unfolds, Haruhiro is jolted back to another reality, a confrontation with a bully named Matt in a world different from Grimgar. His past is peppered with moments of resilience and overcoming personal challenges, suggesting an inner strength that parallels his current journey. In this dreamlike sequence, time blurs as Haruhiro navigates relationships and experiences, especially one with a girl named Satsuki in a version of his life set in Japan. Yet, something feels profoundly off. Everyone seems distant and off-sync, like a reality that doesn't fit. He muses on his identity, grapples with surreal elements, flies swarming around him, a key he never received, and spells he never mastered. In this place, he is various people, various names. From Jesse Smith to Ajiha to Yasuma, each identity only deepens his disconnect, threading through memories and realities that slip like sand through fingers. Back in the tangible world, Kuzaku calls out, dragging Haruhiro with urgency to a discussion about Jesse, Mary, and their current predicament. Haruhiro faces the chilling truth of touching Jessie, confirming she isn't rotting, but rather feels inexplicably lifeless and cold. This revelation, confirming what he feared, leaves him reeling. Kuzaku pushes Haruhiro, urging him to act. The group is on edge, each word tinged with urgency and fear. As they grapple with the mystery of Jess's state, Setora arrives with her demon, Shihoru close behind. The sense of impending threat looms large, stretching taut among the friends. Haruhiro reflects on their dire situation, feeling helpless yet empowered by the realization that his friends are counting on him. Setora, without missing a beat, heads directly towards Haruhiro and addresses him with urgency, reinforcing the importance of their unity in the face of an uncertain destiny. All converge around Haruhiro, knitting their fractured realities together, drawing strength from the binds they've forged. The chapter closes with an understanding that, though the path ahead is fraught with peril and ambiguity, they are undeniably, inseparably together. Setora leans against the wall with a sigh, observing Haruhiro, who seems lost in thought. Kichi, ever loyal to Setora, nudges her and makes a comforting sound, almost like a cat's meow. Setora reassures Haruhiro with a clever taunt, saying, "Wow, you look happy. What did I miss?" Shihoru offers a gentle smile from nearby, curious about the object Setora holds. In response, Setora pulls a small vessel from her pocket, explaining its significance. This is a pseudo-soul vessel, Setora clarifies, further elaborating on its fascinating history and mystical properties. Setora begins to narrate that the necromancer's original goal was to resurrect the dead. Yet, they discovered a relic that enabled them to create pseudo-souls instead. Despite their efforts, true resurrection eludes them, as death proves to be irreversible. Setora expresses her hope that if someone returns, they shouldn't emerge as something monstrous. As Setora shares her knowledge, Haruhiro grapples silently with an internal struggle. He hears a quiet, uncertain voice, one not from the people around him. It's Mary. Her voice, though faint and distant, strikes him with concern. A sudden, intense noise disrupts the moment. Haruhiro watches in horror as something unsettling occurs with Mary. Liquid is pouring from her mouth, but it isn't merely blood. This liquid, spewing continuously, leaves Haruhiro attempting in vain to wipe it away. The scene is heart-wrenching as Mary seems to endure immense suffering. Mary! Mary! Haruhiro shouts her name, trying to get a response, desperate to do something, anything. He wraps his arms around her tightly, repeating her name over and over. Finally, Mary coughs and weakly speaks, "Haru." Relief washes over Haruhiro as Mary acknowledges him, confirming she knew he was there. Her coherence and breathing seem to improve slightly. Setora confirms that those scattered moments earlier have led to this crucial awakening. Suddenly, the situation demands action once more. The danger isn't over yet. Lumiaris' divine protection had briefly lit the way, yet now, beasts known as Vulus surround them, posing a new threat. Their path is clear, they must escape the growing chaos. However, as they move, a Vulu suddenly rushes at Haruhiro. There's a tense scuffle as Haruhiro, feeling cornered, struggles with the beast. In a stroke of desperation, Kuzaku appears just in time to assist. He grapples with the Vulu, but it's not easy to combat. The beast's thick fur cushions against attacks, complicating their efforts to fend it off. In a climactic struggle, Haruhiro finds himself thrust through a wall, landing roughly on the other side. Peering up, he finds the rest of his companions, Yume, Shihoru, and even Mary are all there. Curiously, Mary's state remains perplexing as Haruhiro notices she isn't clothed, a shock given the ongoing turmoil. Haruhiro quickly provides Mary with a trench coat, focusing on their immediate survival rather than the oddity of the situation. Yume eagerly grabs a bow and shield, ready for action. Setora prepares, holding a spear. Meanwhile, as Setora stares down at Kuzaku battling the Vulu, she hurls a sharp command urging everyone to engage. Setora, with commanding determination, plants her spear with precision, briefly stunning the Vulu. Kuzaku doesn't relent, bringing his large katana down with powerful resolve. But the Vulu's thick fur absorbs much of the impact, making it hard to land a decisive blow. As the Vulu reels back, Mary, now cloaked, regains her composure. Together, the group rallies, leveraging each other's strengths. They must work as one cohesive unit to survive the ordeal. Satora's voice, rising above the chaos, calls for Haruhiro to act. Now, you hunter! Yume, too, readies her spear, and with Satoru's each driving command, the team sharpens their focus on defeating the monstrous challenge before them. Amidst fierce strikes and strategic maneuvers, they fight valiantly, striving for the upper hand. Their unity, underscored by Satoru's fierce calls and Meri's renewed presence, becomes their greatest weapon against the chaos threatening to engulf them. The chaos unfolds quickly as Haruhiro and his party find themselves grappling with a dangerous situation caused by the Vulus, nocturnal creatures lurking in the night. Nervous, Haruhiro struggles to keep everyone safe as they maneuver through the darkness. Haruhiro says, "Out of the way," as Kuzaku, armed with his large katana, rushes forward to tackle the threat. Haruhiro is racing against panic, trying to decide on the best course of action. He remembers the encroaching night that makes the Vulus more aggressive. His mind flashes to Kichi, a missing companion. "Kichi," he shouts. Satoru, who had sent Kichi ahead, warns him that the little animal might have scouted ahead, hopefully finding something worthwhile. The tension thickens as Meri, armed and ready, takes position near Haruhiro. Sensing the urgency, Yume gets prepared, while Shihoru channels her magic. Haruhiro can still hear Ronta's voice echoing in his thoughts, an irritant and a reminder of past failures. The stakes feel higher than ever before, with little room for mistakes. Haruhiro knows he's weighed down by doubts but tries to center himself. "I have to do my best for my comrades. That's my core," he reflects. They venture cautiously, whispering directives to each other like militia gearing up for war. Suddenly, they hear the dreaded howling of the Vulus. Oh 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 oh. The noise pierces the silence, and everyone's nerves are on edge. In the moonless night, the sound grows. Meri urges everyone to snuff out the lights to avoid drawing the creatures closer. Haruhiro resists but eventually gives in. Caution is key. They press on, their senses heightened and hearts pounding. As they reach another clearing, a terrifying sight presents itself. The ground beneath them is alive, pulsating. "Don't be afraid. It's just some weird monster," Haruhiro assures. But Ronta's absence is like a loud drumbeat in Haruhiro's chest. Why did Ronta have to be such an idiot, he wonders. Haruhiro struggles to keep control even as the unnerving sensations press against his sanity. The oppressive atmosphere thickens, taking on a life of its own. As the group fights their way through, Haruhiro feels something primal, inside him stirring. It's dark, it's aggressive. The vibrations in the air make his senses scream as if they're trying to warn him. Yet, he keeps moving, leading his comrades because stopping would mean the end. The ordeal is tangible, almost unreal. Haruhiro kicks away at the creatures, a silent plea in every movement. Around him, Yume and Kuzaku fight fiercely. Satoru's presence provides them a tether, an anchor point amidst chaos. Shihoru desperately joins the fray, unleashing her elemental magic. But then, Haruhiro encounters an overwhelming sensation. It gnaws at his courage even as his group continues the fight. Kuzaku bellows mightily, slicing through the creatures. The battle is mind-numbing in its intensity, yet the party can't afford to falter. At last, Meri uses magic. A flame arcs through the night, lighting up the darkness. It's Av magic, a drastic measure, but crucially necessary. The surge of fire brings temporary relief, pushing back the malicious night. The tension begins to lift just slightly. Haruhiro watches Meri, or coloring his exhaustion. She's powerful, vulnerable, two extremes in uneasy alliance. As the fire simmers, the party knows they can't pause. Determination glints in Meri's eyes. "We have to run, while we still can." Desperation and resolve dance upon every word. Finally, as retreat continues, Satoru clutches Kichi tightly. "I can feel it," she admits, her words bridging despair and hope. As they push east, Haruhiro and his comrades know the terror pursuing them won't relent easily. But somehow, they believe that reaching the sea might offer salvation, or at least a moment to catch their breath. The narrative climaxes as Haruhiro clings to belief, not just in himself, but in his comrades. Their shared purpose propels them forward through the darkness. Despite isolation, the promise of survival keeps them clinging to each precious step. As they inch toward the distant sea, a part of Haruhiro marvels at their sheer tenacity, the indomitable spirit that ties them together and pushes them ever onward into the unknown.